Welcome to the Tech Mobility Podcast.
I'm Ken Chester. On the docket, AI performance monitoring for the factory floor, old cars, new opportunities, and a humanoid robot for the home. To join the conversation, call or text the Tech Mobility Hotline. That number, 872-222-9793. Or you can email the show directly, talk@techmobility.show. Be sure to like, follow, and subscribe on our pages on social media, our YouTube channel, and our two podcasts, the Tech Mobility Podcast and Tech Mobility Topics. From the Tech Mobility News Desk, I don't usually cover recalls, but this one is so vast and so insidious, and it goes to the core of America's love affair with trucks and affected so many trucks that I had to talk about it. The National Highway Traffic Safety Administration has opened a probe of over 877,000 GM vehicles for engine failures. The reason why I bring this up is severalfold. Number one, it's a fairly new engine. Number two, it is a large V8 engine, something that Detroit has been building for almost 100 years. They know how to make these things. But apparently, this new engine, this particular displacement, because it's a particular displacement, it's a particular configuration, and it's a particular failure that happens with no prior warning. And what we're talking about is the failure of connecting rod bearing wear, which has led to catastrophic engine damage without any prior systems. What we're talking about primarily is GM pickups, which is Chevrolet and GMC, and SUVs. You're talking about Tahoe, Suburban, Yukon, equipped with the 6.2-liter V8 gasoline engine. And that exact number is 877,710. They were getting reports of this catastrophic failure happening. So their Office of Defects Investigation, I'm talking about the National Highway Traffic Safety Administration, they opened a safety probe in January. And to put a point on this, the vehicles include 2019 to 2024 Chevy Silverado 1500 and GMC Sierra 1500s, and 2021 through 2024 Chevrolet Tahoe, Suburban, GMC Yukon, and Cadillac Escalades SUVs equipped with the L87 6.2-liter V8 gasoline engine. This is not old. What the heck happened? You can speculate, and I'm going to a little bit here. But before I do that, context. The Office of Defects Investigation received 39 complaints and additional field reports alleging engine failures, some of which occurred without any prior symptoms noticed by drivers. If you go out to social media, you will see, as I did, several situations where folks have posted their vehicles dying, one making a real horrible noise, which required an entire engine replacement. Obviously, the potential for engine failures poses a safety risk, as sudden loss of power may increase the risk of a crash resulting in injury and or property damage. Let's be blunt. Replacing an engine, you're looking at $8,000 to $10,000, assuming that when it failed, it didn't damage anything else. I don't know, like the transmission, the torque converter, that the electronics didn't get fried, that a whole bunch of other collateral damage did not happen as a result of the engine failure. Particularly since it seems to be something very mechanical. Not electronic, as you might have thought that it might have been an electrical issue. No, this is a mechanical issue. How do we get here? For as long as the auto industry has existed in America, two things I will tell you beyond a doubt, and I'm willing to bet it was at least one of them. The auto industry has been laser focused on vehicle cost. Now, you wouldn't think so, given the average transaction price for new vehicles up around $50,000. But they are almost maniacal about unit cost or cost per unit for different parts, components, and things. And original equipment suppliers that supply these parts to the manufacturers are under relentless pressure to reduce prices and increase quality. When you push as hard as the automakers push, and they push real hard, you're going to get every now and then either a process or materials or equipment that doesn't measure up because the supplier got caught in a squeeze. They couldn't do it, and they're under obligation, under contract to deliver. And sometimes they cut the corners a little too close. And as a result, you get stuff like this. I mean, an internal combustion engine in 2025 has no business in failing. Not like this. Maybe you have the electronics get a little crazy because electronic controlled engines, particularly at the level of sophistication they are at now, last 10 years, although you can go all the way back 40 years to the first crude engine computers. But at the level of sophistication now, you would think this sort of thing that would happen to an internal combustion engine would be related to the electronics that control it, not the actual physical, mechanical moving parts. This is unusual. Let me talk a little bit more about the engine itself. GM's L87 V8 engine, which was launched in 2019, which is why I'm making a big deal about it, is a standard design featuring overhead valves, a forged steel crankshaft, and connecting rod bearing caps made of cast nodular iron. General Motors has been building V8s for almost 100 years. 100 years. This should not be happening. Since the 1990s, cast nodular iron has been the preferred material in a growing number of applications in the auto industry due to its high strength, castability, machinability, meaning it's a material we can use effectively, quickly, and it works for us. We can keep the cost down, and it's not a difficult material to use. However, nodular iron is prone to issues such as surface defects and micro shrinkage pores that can lead to cracks. Cast or forged steel isn't as susceptible. But whether or not these surface defects can reduce component service life have not been fully investigated, according to a 2019 report from Science Direct. Let me be clear. They've been using cast nodular iron for 30 plus years. Why is it susceptible in this engine? Why did this engine have catastrophic failures, so much so that you've got this big, almost 1 million vehicle recall for one engine for one reason? If I know anything about a supply chain, I'm telling you, somewhere, either in the machining of the material, the assembling of the part, somewhere somebody got a little too close to the edge relative to quality in order to meet the demands, the cost demands that GM was demanding for these parts to go into that engine. This engine has no reason to fail. They have no excuse. They've been using material since the 1990s. What? And this engine's a new engine, and all the testing that they do nowadays for validation and verification, hot weather testing, cold weather testing, high mileage testing, where all of this stuff. And this engine fails like this? Nah, It's a supplier issue. And I'm going to stand up to that. And it's not the last one, because GM had another problem with diesel engines and transmission control valves. due to wear. Oh well. The dark side of AI has just reared its ugly head on the factory floor. You are listening to the Tech Mobility Show.
Are you tired of juggling multiple apps and platforms for meetings, webinars, and staying connected? Look no further than AONmeetings.com, the all-in-one browser-based platform that does it all. With AON Meetings, you can effortlessly communicate with clients, host virtual meetings and webinars, and stay in touch with family and friends, all in one place and for one price. Here's the best part. You can enjoy a 30-day free trial. It's time to simplify your life and boost your productivity. AONmeetings.com, where innovation meets connection. Get started today and revolutionize the way you communicate.
Social media is the main place to be these days, and we are no exception. I'm Ken Chester, the Tech Mobility Show. If you enjoy my program, then you will also enjoy my weekly Facebook videos. From my latest vehicle reviews to timely commentary of a variety of mobility and technology-related topics, these short features are designed to inform and delight you. Be sure to watch, like, and follow us on Facebook. You can find us by typing the Tech Mobility Show in the search bar. Be sure to subscribe to our Facebook page. Social media is the place to be these days, and we're no exception. I'm Ken Chester of the Tech Mobility Show. If you enjoy my program, then you will also enjoy my weekly Instagram videos. From the latest vehicle reviews to timely commentary on a variety of mobility and technology-related topics, these short features are designed to inform and delight you. Be sure to watch, like, and follow us on Instagram. You can find us by typing the Tech Mobility Show in the search bar. For those of you that listen to podcasts, we have just the one for you. Hi, I'm Ken Chester. Tech Mobility Topics is a podcast where I upload topic-specific videos each week. Shorter than the full show, these bite-sized programs are just the thing, particularly if you're interested in a particular topic covered on the weekly radio show. From Apple Podcast to iHeartRadio and many podcast platforms in between, we got you covered. Just enter Tech Mobility Topics in the search bar wherever you listen to podcasts.
New Bonneville, huh?
Oh, it's a great car. It's got everything. Analog brakes, over 200 horsepower, leather.
Weren't you shopping the BMW, Lexus?
Pass. After I drove this, I couldn't see spending that much more.
Where'd you find the time to shop?
I did. Just picked up the phone, and Pontiac sent me all the info.
To get your free video information kit, call 1-800-443-4444 now.
Saved you a few steps, huh?
Saved me 10, 20 grand.
1-800-443-4444.
There is so much to unpack here. Let me start by introducing Pontiac to those of you that may not recognize the brand name. Pontiac was a nameplate like Buick, like Cadillac, like Chevrolet of General Motors from 1926 to 2009. And one of their most popular cars that they built was the Pontiac Bonneville. This ad is from 1995. You may have noticed, or if you were paying attention, that he called Pontiac to send them literally a glossy brochure, an actual printed brochure, and get this now, not a DVD, but an actual videotape, a video cassette sent to him. Think of all the time it took. And today, you literally could get that same information in a few keystrokes in your own home and print the information you want in minutes. He would have had to call Pontiac. They would have had to put it together, send it to him. So you're probably looking at, conservatively, a couple of weeks for him to get it. And then he's got to put this thing in his VCR, which was a video playing device for those of you that don't know, back in the 80s, 90s, and early 2000s. Before DVDs even, and then get that information that is available to you in real time in a couple of keystrokes. How far we have come. Because the World Wide Web in 1995 had just been around to the world for 2 years. It came out in 1993 to the world and was nowhere near as sophisticated as it is now. Trust me, I remember those early days. Ew. And we'll leave it at that. For this segment, the following story is why there is a desperate need for guardrails when it comes to the use of AI across corporate America. a venture capital-backed AI performance monitoring system for factory workers is proposing what appears to be dehumanizing surveillance of factories where machine vision tracks workers' hand movements and output so a boss can look at graphs and yell at them about efficiency. As usual, I got questions. This is topic A. They want to take factory work back over 100 years? It is tough enough that we live in a world where surveillance seems to be pervasive everywhere. But can you imagine working on an assembly line where your very workstation, not just a copy of the line itself, but your workstation has a camera and your boss is looking at you at real time and every single move you make, even down to when and if you go to the bathroom. And they're comparing by using machine vision and AI to predict, measure, analyze what you're doing. They can determine your level of productivity. For many folks, factory work is mind-numbing. It's tough enough in any factory. I don't care what you're making, which is why the automakers make the money they do. Imagine being in something like this. I had to look this up because I saw the article, and honestly, at first blush, I didn't believe it. But it's real. The name of the company is Optify. That is OPTIFYE.ai. And they build this as AI line optimization for manual assembly. Okay, all right. That is a sanitized word for line speed. And it's something that folks and unions have been fighting for as long as there have been factories with an assembly line. One of the biggest challenges that the UAW had back in the day, and was negotiated into contracts actually, was line speed. In other words, how many units per hour will pass in front of a worker to put on a part, make an adjustment, clip something in. Now, to be honest, and I've been on the shop floor in some of these automakers' factories, they have what they call time and motion studies. They have engineers come in and they time your station to determine how long it would take someone to do what they're paying you to do at that station at that time. The challenge is the push and pull of a union contract. The automaker wants a faster line speed. Faster line speed means more product out per hour, fewer workers. The union wants a slower line speed, which means more time for each worker to actually do their job with less chance for injuries, mistakes, and a chance to build in quality because they're taking more time to do it. This is a push and pull in any industry that you're in if there is a line. And it is a big deal. When you say line optimization, you're looking for ways to get productivity out of folks. And what that means is we're looking for ways to remove the bottlenecks to increase the line speed. They want to work you harder. And if they can figure out that you're the bottleneck, they can either move you or figure out a different way. But the bottom line is they want to increase speed because more product per hour, per minute off that line means more profit for the corporation. There's a song, and I forget the name of the song, but there's a line in that song that I think rings true, and it just stays with me. And it basically says, the company gets what the company wants. Trust me. With something like this, no. Optify.ai, launched by Duke University computer science students Bade and Mota, is backed by Y Combinator, which is a major, very celebrated business incubator startup in California. Many major companies have come out of this organization, this business incubator. On their Y Combinator company profile, they write that both of their families run manufacturing plants where they've been exposed to factory working conditions since they were children. They hope to sell cameras to factory owners to use on assembly lines, their website says, and use computer vision to tell supervisors who's working and who's not in real time. Yeah. They claim that owners get accurate real-time factory line and worker productivity metrics. Production heads get line-wise and worker-wise metrics shop floor supervisors get to identify who what is causing inefficiency in the line and fix the problem on the go. And for the workers, what's in it for the workers? And I'm reading from the article. They get the tantalizing benefit of being held accountable for good or bad performance. I can see where this is going because corporate America does not have a good reputation when it comes to factory and workers and line speed and safety. Old cars, new opportunities. Not every vintage project needs to be a money pit. This is the Tech Mobility Show. Do you listen to podcasts? Seems that most people do. Hi, I'm Ken Chester, host of the Tech Mobility Show. If you missed any of our weekly episodes on the radio, our podcast is a great way to listen. You can find the Tech Mobility Podcast just about anywhere you can enjoy podcasts. Be sure to follow us. From Apple Podcasts to iHeartRadio and many platforms in between, we are there. Just enter the Tech Mobility Podcast in the search bar wherever you listen to podcasts. Social media. It's the place to be, and we're no exception. Hi, I'm Ken Chester, host of the Tech Mobility Show. Several times a week, I post to TikTok several of the topics that I cover on my weekly radio show. It's another way to keep up on mobility, technology, news, and information. I've built quite a library of short videos for your viewing pleasure, so be sure to watch, like, and subscribe. That's the Tech Mobility Show on TikTok. Check it out. Collectible cars have inspired generations of enthusiasts and collectors. Their growing appeal, even today, translates into new opportunities along the entire automotive value chain. And it sounds like a way to cash in to me. This is Topic B. Normally when people talk about classic cars, collectible cars, they want to show off their 57 Chevy, they want to show off, their Ford Mustang, whatever. I'm taking a slightly different approach. I'm taking a business approach because there are billions of dollars to be made servicing and otherwise providing services to the collectible car industry. To be clear, not every vintage car, not every old car is a classic. And unfortunately, some people have found that they end up with the car that they wanted, thinking it would be worth money, end up being a labor of love because it's the car they always wanted to own. For me, I have a list of cars that if I could, I would own them. And I'm really not sure why I find them desirable, but I do. 55, 56 Plymouth or Dodge, 1960 Chrysler, 1961 Chevy Impala. Definitely my all-time, oh my God, favorite, if I get my hands on one, is 65 Imperial by Chrysler in either royal blue, and I want a four-door, I don't want a two-door, and I don't want, believe it or not, I'm strange, I don't want a convertible. I want a four-door sedan in either the royal blue that year or black. There's just something very mid-century classy about that car in those two colors. The only other car I'd want, and straight out of the 1970s and definitely not worth much, and I'm not even sure there are any around, would be a 1972 Dodge Dart Swinger Special. Just like the look of the car. Economy car and two-door and slant six 3-speed automatic. Nothing special about that car at all, except that I like it. And okay, one more. And you do notice that with the exception of the 61 Chevy, they're all Mopars. Just wanted to point that out. The last one, because I sat in this thing when it was new, 1975 Chrysler Cordoba, black with wire wheels with red velvet interior. That's what I want. Sat in one brand new at Leominster Chrysler Plymouth in Leominster, Massachusetts when I was 17 years old. Never bought one, but I want one if I could ever get my hands on one. But we're not going that direction. I wanted to talk about just kind of expand your horizons a little bit. Right now, the most popular collectibles run from the 1980s through the 2000s, which you have to be a person of a certain age. For me, being a man of a certain age, that day was mainly the 50s and mid-60s, as you could tell by my choices, which is why still what they call the Tri-5 Chevys are still popular with everybody, which is the 55, 56, 57 Chevy, which went to a completely radical new body style in 1955, along with the Chevy short block V8. Those two things just turned the whole Chevy world on its ear, why those 3 years are still real popular with a lot of folks. Go to any car show, guarantee you will find a Tri-5 Chevy shoebox, either 55, 56, 57, guaranteed. Typically a two-door, probably a Bel Air or made into a Bel Air, which was the top end. But it's a thing. The upswing in consumer demand is a part of a greater trend that sees vintage products as spirits, watches, jewelry, and handbags surging in value across all sectors. It's more of a lifestyle issue than a investment issue for the young people who do that. They relate with the brand more than anything. Let me give you some numbers. You're looking at the size of this market being worth $47 billion. $47 billion last year. 5,000 trades involve vehicles being valued above $525,000, so a bit rich. But you don't have to get to the higher level to get into this game. There are other ways to do it. Let's start with the easy way, and a lot of folks do this, the trading and brokering of collectible cars. 30 to 40% of cars, the collectibles, are sold through public listings. Auctions only account for 15 to 30% of unlisted sales, which means there's a certain percent that is peer group. Maybe you belong to a collectible club and somebody wants to sell their car. You find out about it, you buy it. So there's that. 2, vehicle manufacturing. What's happening is some OEMs, either directly or licensed third parties by the OEMs, are building blanks. One of the more popular ones, 65 Ford Mustang, being built a lot of the sheet metal. Year One, a company that does a lot of this kind of stuff. New old stuff, to where they're building it back in the day to the original specifications for somebody who wants one but can't find the original parts but want to get as close as they can in a modern sort of way. An easy one. Number 3, logistics and storage. Getting the vehicles to where people are going. Having what is called a private racetrack. The one that comes to mind is Motor One in Michigan, where if you are a certain collector, you can either rent or buy a private rental space near the track that is available for the members to do whatever. So if you've got a vintage performance car that you want to take out on occasion in a safe sort of way and run it, you can belong to some of these tracks, either through an organization or the track directly. And as logistics and storage, you can either store it there or you can use a specialized carrier to move it around. You don't have to put it on a trailer yourself and take it around. There are companies that will do this, that are bonded and insured, that will make sure that your baby gets to where it needs to go safely without damage in the time allotted. Number 4, if a vehicle moves, administration, financing, insurance. Hagerty Insurance is one that insures a lot of the classic vehicles. There are other insurance companies that do it. Hagerty comes to mind immediately as one of the main ones in the industry. there are a lot of companies, and I'm going to leap to number 5, maintenance, restoration, and spare parts. There are a lot of companies right now that either as the stock of older dealers, or they find this stock that the dealers had for years is getting down. A lot of companies, again, I mentioned year one, and the companies in their ilk that will manufacture a variety of parts for vintage vehicles to spec. So it's like getting a new old part, except it is as good and sometimes a little better than the original part. Most of the folks that are in this thing, they like their vehicles authentic, although there is a growing resto-mod world where they're restoring it, but not exactly to the original. They're importing some different things depending on how they want it. I've seen some done, but I'm a guy who likes it authentic. But there's a lot of money here, folks, a lot of money. Depending on if you're thinking about collectible car, you might want to get in through the back door this way. Norwegian robotics firm 1X recently unveiled its latest home robot. Seems similar to a movie I saw in 2004. We are the Tech Mobility Show. To learn more about the Tech Mobility Show, start by visiting our website. Hi, I'm Ken Chester, host of the Tech Mobility Show. The website is a treasure trove of information about me and the show, as well as where to find it on the radio across the country. Keep up with the happenings at the Tech Mobility Show by visiting techmobility.show. That's techmobility.show. You can also drop us a line at talk@techmobility.show. Did you know that Tech Mobility has a YouTube channel? Hi, I'm Ken Chester, host of the Tech Mobility Show. Each week, I upload a few short videos of some of the hot topics that I cover during my weekly radio program. I've designed these videos to be informative and entertaining. It's another way to keep up on current mobility and technology news and information. Be sure to watch, like, and subscribe to my channel. That's the Tech Mobility Show on YouTube. Check it out.
Are you tired of juggling multiple apps and platforms for meetings, webinars, and staying connected? Look no further than AONmeetings.com, the all-in-one browser-based platform that does it all. With AON Meetings, you can effortlessly communicate with clients, host virtual meetings and webinars, and stay in touch with family and friends, all in one place and for one price. Here's the best part. You can enjoy a 30-day free trial. It's time to simplify your life and boost your productivity. AONmeetings.com, where innovation meets connection. Get started today and revolutionize the way you communicate.
Social media is the place to be these days, and we're no exception. I'm Ken Chester of the Tech Mobility Show. If you enjoy my program, then you will also enjoy my weekly Instagram videos. From the latest vehicle reviews to timely commentary on a variety of mobility and technology-related topics, these short features are designed to inform and delight you. Be sure to watch, like, and follow us on Instagram. You can find us by typing the Tech Mobility Show in the search bar. Norwegian robotics firm 1X recently unveiled its latest home robot, Neo Gamma, which will replace Neo Beta that debuted last August. 1X joins the ranks of Tesla, Honda, Toyota, Boston Dynamics, and a handful of other companies that have or currently are developing humanoid robots for home or factory applications. And you're going to have to excuse me when I tell you, I've seen this movie before. This is topic B. I'm sorry, it seems that life is imitating art more and more these days. This is a second movie that I'm going to reference from the turn of the century, from the first 10 years of this new century. I talked a lot about Minority Report. Well, this time I'm talking about iRobot, because this is a little too scary for me. I'm looking at, as they're looking at the benefits of having an assistant at home. And I mean, on the one hand, it makes a lot of sense. We've got an aging population. Our replacement rates for young people are below that of the boomers. So there are fewer people to take care of an aging population. Wages are horrible for home health care. So it's hard to get people and keep people in the profession. And sometimes us old folks just need a little help. And it would be nice to have a companion, a support device, or something that can help us with simple tasks around the house. Toyota unveiled that to help. And in fact, they ran a story a number of years ago where they had kind of a prototype that was helping a disabled veteran in his home. Honda had a robot primarily for years. Boston Dynamics, which was partially owned by Hyundai, had been developing some things. It's one thing to develop these assistants for factory use. Factory use is repetitive. It doesn't require a lot of variation from a given or set of given tasks. Is confined or geo-fenced within particular parameters. A home robot doesn't have those hard parameters, or nearly as many. So there's that challenge. And then there's the interactivity with a human being, which we're fickle. We're all over the place. Emotion all over the place, needs all over the place, health all over the place. How do you design something to be helpful for this multitude of things that we call the human experience? It's really close to what autonomous automation companies are dealing with and trying to develop a fully autonomous private vehicle, and why you haven't seen one. Because of all the challenges that go into all the variables that are necessary. And we don't really understand that when designing this stuff. Now, in the case of 1X, they show images of their Neo Gamma prototype performing a number of household tasks like making coffee, doing the laundry, and vacuuming. Personally, no, you're not going to make my coffee. I'm picky about my coffee. No, I'll make my own coffee. Thank you very much. They say that Neo Gamma represents a softer side of the humanoid industry, both figuratively and literally. 1X has built the robot to be welcoming, with a friendly design and a suit made of knitted nylon. The latter is designed to reduce potential injuries that might arise from robot to human contact. And I say, what happened to the 3 laws of robotics? Which is kind of you would think that it's actually a real scientific thing, but actually isn't. It was kind of evolved by the American writer Isaac Asimov, who was a Boston University biochemistry professor and considered for his time one of the big 3 science fiction writers of his time. iRobot makes mention of the 3 laws of robotics. And you hear that bounced around from time to time, but you may not know what they are. Let me tell you, and I'm going to come back to this in a minute. 3 laws. Law number 1. A robot must not harm a human or allow a human to be harmed by inaction. Number 2. A robot must obey human orders unless it conflicts with the first law. Number 3. A robot must protect itself unless it conflicts with the first or second law. Sounds wonderful, right? Okay, now let's add into the mix, in today's technical world, the rise of agent AI, or AI agents, and more importantly, the development of autonomous AI agents, which could be infused in this. As AI becomes more and more pervasive, it would make sense for them to mate these robotics with AI so that they can react in real time, and to make them either fully or semi-autonomous with the world in front of them, where they get a chance to learn. A while back, I did several segments on a white paper that talked about machine learning and talked about the evolution of AI over the next 10 to 20 years. Could it get sentient? Could it become self-aware? Could it become sapient? Could it think for itself, independent of human input, independent of human algorithms, independent of any predetermined limits, boundaries, or otherwise configurations? And more importantly, what happens if and when it does? That is where iRobot was in 2004, where that's exactly what the sentient AI controller did and attempted its own uprising. which creeps me out a little bit because it looks like we're coming full circle. My biggest concern with humanoid robots, with AI, with large language models, where are the guardrails? We're trusting companies to develop these things that are going to get as intimate and as private in the home as possible. What guarantees that we have that these things won't be spying on us for somebody? They don't talk about that. What helps us or what protects us from them from being hacked and maybe exposing us to potential danger or harm? What happens and how does it handle different situations it may encounter in the privacy of one's home? At what point does it determine, if at all, that authorities need to be, should be, or will be contacted? And what kind of authorities? Yeah, I got a ton of questions. Now, to be honest, these are still years away because of so many other logistical and practical things that they need to overcome to even make these things work. But the saying is true. At the speed of our technology, it's not going to be nearly as long as you think for these things to get to a critical mass. Consider ChatGPT 3 years ago and where we are now with AI. 3 years. And DeepSeek just pulled the rug out from all of them. 3 years. 3 years. What is the next 3 years going to look like? That's the question that I ask. We've come to the end of our visit. Be sure to join me again next time right here. This has been the Tech Mobility Show.
The Tech Mobility Show is a copywritten production of Tech Mobility Productions, Incorporated. Any rebroadcast, retransmission, or any other use is prohibited without the written consent of Tech Mobility Productions, Incorporated.
For those of you that listen to podcasts, we have just the one for you. Hi, I'm Ken Chester. Tech Mobility Topics is a podcast where I upload topic-specific videos each week. Shorter than the full show, these bite-sized programs are just the thing, particularly if you're interested in a particular topic covered on the weekly radio show. From Apple Podcasts to iHeartRadio and many podcast platforms in between, we got you covered. Just enter Tech Mobility Topics in the search bar wherever you listen to podcasts. Social media. It's the place to be, and we're no exception. Hi, I'm Ken Chester, host of the Tech Mobility Show. Several times a week, I post to TikTok several of the topics that I cover on my weekly radio show. It's another way to keep up on mobility, technology, news, and information. I've built quite a library of short videos for your viewing pleasure, so be sure to watch, like, and subscribe. That's the Tech Mobility Show on TikTok. Check it out. To learn more about the Tech Mobility Show, start by visiting our website. Hi, I'm Ken Chester, host of the Tech Mobility Show. The website is a treasure trove of information about me and the show, as well as where to find it on the radio across the country. Keep up with the happenings at the Tech Mobility Show by visiting techmobility.show. That's techmobility.show. You can also drop us a line at talk@techmobility.show. Do you listen to podcasts? Seems that most people do. Hi, I'm Ken Chester, host of the Tech Mobility Show. If you missed any of our weekly episodes on the radio, our podcast is a great way to listen. You can find the Tech Mobility Podcast just about anywhere you can enjoy podcasts. Be sure to follow us. From Apple Podcasts to iHeartRadio and many platforms in between, we are there. Just enter the Tech Mobility Podcast in the search bar wherever you listen to podcasts.